Let me ask you something. Who's really in control of your life? Is it you or your circumstances? Most people think they're in charge, but the truth is they're being pulled around by habits, fears, distractions, and other people's expectations, but not you, not anymore. Because here's the truth. You have more power than you think. The only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the decision to take control, real control. Not just managing your to-do list or making a vision board. I'm talking about ownership of your thoughts, your actions, your outcomes. You don't need permission, you need a breakthrough. You weren't put here to live a life of quiet frustration, to survive each day and call that living. No, you were built to lead, to grow, to shape your world from the inside out. But control doesn't come from luck, it comes from strategy, from discipline, from mastering the core areas of your life that drive everything else. Let me tell you something that most people don't want to hear, but you need to. If your life isn't where you want it to be right now, if you're not feeling that fire inside, that fulfillment, that momentum, it's not because of your past. It's not because of your parents. It's not because of your job or the economy or your circumstances. It's because somewhere along the way you gave up control. Maybe not intentionally, but you stopped owning everything. And if you don't own it, you can't change it. You want to control your life, then it starts right here, right now, with taking radical responsibility for everything, not just the wins, not just the easy stuff. I'm talking about taking responsibility for your failures, your reactions, your energy, your thoughts, your outcomes, even when it doesn't feel fair, even when someone else was wrong. Because the moment you start blaming anything or anyone, you hand over your power. See, most people live in a state of reaction. Something happens and they respond. They point fingers. It's because of my boss. My relationship is draining me. I didn't grow up with the right support. I don't have the resources. That kind of thinking keeps you stuck. That's not control. That's giving your life away, one excuse at a time. But what if you flip the switch? What if instead of saying, why is this happening to me, you asked, what am I going to do about it? That one shift, just that one, changes everything, because now you're back in the driver's seat. You're not waiting for something or someone to change. You're the change. I'm not saying you caused every challenge in your life, but I am saying you're responsible for how you deal with it. That's the difference between being a victim and being a leader. And if you want to control your life, you've got to be the leader. That means you stop negotiating with your limitations. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop letting the past define the future. Responsibility isn't blame, it's power. It's saying no matter what happened, I decide what happens next. You might not be able to control what's around you, but you can always control what's within you. Your attitude, your response, your decision to rise instead of fold. That's where real freedom comes from, not from avoiding problems, but from knowing that you can face them and shape the outcome. Let me ask you something. How many times have you said, I'll change when they change? I'll be happy when this is over. I'll feel better once this person understands me. That's not ownership, that's emotional slavery. You've given someone else the keys to your peace, your progress, your power, and you wonder why you feel stuck. If you want to live a life that's unstoppable, you've got to stop waiting and start deciding. You've got to get honest with yourself, brutally honest. Where are you not showing up? Where are you playing small? Where are you blaming instead of building? Because the only thing separating you from the life you want is you. And that's actually incredible news. Because if it's you, then you can change it. You don't have to wait for the stars to align. You don't need permission, you just need to take ownership of your choices, of your habits, of your energy, of how you treat your body, how you speak to yourself, how you show up every single day when no one's watching. I've seen people come from nothing, trauma, pain, loss, and turn their entire life around. Not because someone handed them a map, but because they finally said, I'm done waiting, this is my life, and I'm gonna own it. And when you do that, when you stop outsourcing your responsibility and reclaim it, you'll feel something powerful kick in. A sense of clarity, drive, control. Not control over every outcome, because life's gonna throw its punches, but control over how you move, how you grow, how you respond. And that's the kind of control that transforms everything. So stop waiting, stop blaming, stop hoping that something outside of you is going to fix what's inside. It starts with you, and it starts now. Take the wheel. If you really want to control your life, there's something you need to understand. It's not just about what you do, it's about where your focus goes. Because where focus goes, energy flows. And where your energy flows, that's what grows, that's what expands, that's what begins to shape your reality. You can have the best strategy, the best tools, the best intentions, but if your focus is off, your life is going to drift. You'll keep spinning your wheels wondering why nothing's changing. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a day with all this potential and by the end you're mentally drained, emotionally flat, and nothing important got done? It's not because you were lazy, it's because your focus got hijacked. You were reacting instead of directing. And when you let the outside world dictate where your attention goes, you lose the very thing that gives you power. Every single day you've got to make a choice. Do I focus on what I can't control, or do I focus on what I can? Do I dwell on what's missing, or do I lock into what I have and what I'm building? Because the quality of your life isn't determined by your conditions, it's determined by your focus. You can be in the same situation as someone else and have a completely different experience based on what you choose to give your energy to. Some people walk around focusing on their problems all day. What's wrong? What's broken? What's unfair? And what do they get more of? Problems, stress, overwhelm. Not because life is punishing them, but because they're feeding the wrong thing. Others choose to focus on possibilities, on solutions, on progress. And even in chaos, they find their way through. Not because it's easier for them, but because they've trained their mind to serve them. You've got to learn to direct your focus like a laser, because we live in a world that's constantly trying to pull it away. Notifications, distractions, opinions, noise. It's everywhere. And if you don't condition yourself to take back control, you're going to burn through your energy chasing things that don't move the needle. You'll confuse activity with progress. You'll be busy but not effective. You'll be exhausted but not fulfilled. Energy is your most valuable currency, and focus is how you spend it. So you better get intentional. Ask yourself, what am I focusing on right now? Is it empowering me or draining me? Is it helping me grow or keeping me stuck? And if the answer isn't serving your future, you shift it, you move, you pivot, you rewire. That's how you begin to live with power instead of pressure. It starts with mastering your internal world. You can't control every event, but you can control how you interpret it. You can't stop negative thoughts from showing up, but you can choose not to stay there. You can't eliminate fear, but you can decide whether it fuels you or freezes you. That's the difference between someone who leads their life and someone who lives in reaction. I'm not talking about pretending everything is perfect. I'm talking about being honest with what's real, but choosing to focus on what's resourceful, on what moves you forward. You get what you look for. If you're looking for excuses, you'll find them. If you're looking for problems, they'll multiply. But if you train your focus on solutions, on your goals, on your mission, you'll build momentum. And momentum is the secret weapon of a fulfilled life. You've got to feed your focus daily. That means eliminating what drains you. Stop scrolling through chaos. Stop giving your energy to people who drain your light. Stop opening your mind to garbage and expecting to feel clean. You want clarity? You want power? Then you have to protect your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Every morning, take command of your mind before the world does. Decide what you're focused on. Decide what matters. Move with intention. And when distractions show up, and they will, you don't resist them, you refocus. You return to your vision, your mission, your higher standard. Because the person who wins is the one with the most talent. It's the one who stays focused on what matters no matter what. You can't control everything that happens around you, but you can absolutely control what you give your energy to. And when you do that, when you reclaim your focus, you don't just gain control of your life, you become unstoppable. Direct your focus and you'll direct your destiny. If you're serious about taking control of your life, then you have to master one thing most people overlook: your daily routines. Not just the big goals, not just the dreams, but the small, consistent patterns that either build you or break you. Because success doesn't show up in a single moment. It shows up in your habits, repeated over time. The question is, are your routines helping you rise, or are they quietly pulling you down? Most people want transformation, but they're stuck in routines that keep them stagnant. They wake up late, check their phone first thing, react to problems all day, eat whatever's easy, and wonder why they feel exhausted, overwhelmed, and out of control. That's not a bad day. it's a pattern. And the dangerous thing about patterns is that they feel normal even when they're destructive. But the moment you shift your routine, you shift your identity. Every single choice you make, no matter how small, is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. When you start your day with intention instead of distraction, when you choose discipline over comfort, when you show up even when you don't feel like it, you're building the muscle of control, and that muscle is what separates people who wish for change from those who create it. It starts with your mornings. How you begin the day is how you set the tone for everything that follows. Are you waking up and immediately reacting to the world, or are you creating space for clarity, for strength, for purpose? It doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be intentional. Maybe it's 10 minutes of movement, 10 minutes of gratitude, 10 minutes of mapping your priorities. It's not about perfection, it's about momentum. And don't just stop at mornings. Your entire day is an opportunity to reinforce your values. What are you feeding your body, your mind? Who are you spending time with? What are you tolerating? Are you making time to move your body, to think, to create? Or are you constantly consuming and reacting? These moments may feel small, but they stack. And what they stack into is your life. It's not just about routine for routine's sake. It's about creating structure that frees you. People think freedom comes from doing whatever you want whenever you want. That's not freedom. That's chaos. Real freedom comes from discipline, from having control over yourself, from knowing that no matter what's happening around you, you have systems that keep you aligned with your vision, your energy, your power. Now, I'm not saying it's always going to be easy. There are going to be days when you don't feel like sticking to the routine, when life throws a curveball, when your motivation dips. That's when it matters most, because if you only show up when it's convenient, you're not in control. Your emotions are. But when you show up, especially when it's hard, you train your mind to obey your standards, not your feelings. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight. Start with one routine, one shift. One choice that says, I'm taking back control. Maybe it's going to bed earlier so you wake up strong. Maybe it's a commitment to move your body daily. Maybe it's blocking time for what truly matters. You build one habit, then another, and before you know it, you're not just managing life, you're leading it. The beautiful thing is, once you start seeing results, once you feel the momentum of routines that serve you, you won't want to go back. Because you'll realize that structure isn't a cage, it's a weapon, a system that multiplies your energy, your confidence, your impact. Your routines either serve your future or steal from it. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So build systems that reflect the life you're committed to, not the life you're trying to escape. Discipline creates freedom. If you're truly committed to taking control of your life, then you've got to be willing to take a hard look at what and who you're allowing into your space. Because it's not just about what you do each day, it's also about what you're exposed to. Your environment matters. The people around you matter. The conversations, the energy, the influence you're soaking in every single day, it all adds up. And if you're surrounded by toxicity, don't be surprised when your life feels chaotic, heavy, and out of alignment. There are people, habits, and environments that are either feeding your growth or feeding your fear. You've got to be able to tell the difference. Some people in your life may not mean to hold you back, but their energy, their mindset, their patterns, they're like anchors tied to your progress. You can't soar when you're dragging dead weight. You can't create clarity when your space is filled with chaos. You can't build confidence when you're constantly around voices that doubt you, criticize you, or settle for less. Let me be real with you. One of the most powerful decisions you'll ever make is to protect your peace, to stop tolerating anything that doesn't align with your mission, your values, your growth. That means setting boundaries even if it's uncomfortable. That means walking away from relationships that drain you even if there's history. That means turning down the volume on noise and negativity so you can actually hear your own voice again. It's not about being ruthless, it's about being responsible for your energy, for your time, for your life. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they've been around for a long time. Loyalty isn't about staying stuck with people who refuse to grow. It's about being loyal to your future, to your purpose, to your potential. And sometimes that means outgrowing old circles, old conversations, even old versions of yourself. And it's not just people, It's also what you feed your mind, what you watch, what you listen to, what you scroll through. It's shaping your beliefs, whether you realize it or not. You can't expect to feel empowered if you're constantly consuming content that breeds comparison, fear, drama, or distraction. You want to feel stronger? Start feeding your mind with things that strengthen you. Start surrounding yourself with voices that challenge you, push you, uplift you, because energy is contagious. Spend enough time around people who settle, and settling starts to feel normal. Spend time around people who play small, and your dreams start to shrink. But surround yourself with people who think bigger, move with purpose, act with courage, and suddenly your standards rise without you even realizing it. Your environment either stretches you or shrinks you. You get to decide. And listen, this doesn't mean you need to go out and cut ties with everyone who's negative or struggling, but it does mean you stop letting their energy dominate yours. You stop giving away your power just to make other people comfortable. You can love people without letting them lead your life. You can care for others without compromising your own alignment. That's not selfish, that's necessary. You've got one life, one shot, and you don't have the time or the energy to waste it on environments that kill your momentum. You're not here to be distracted, to be drained, to be stuck in cycles that don't serve you. You're here to rise, to grow, to lead. And that starts with protecting what gets your attention and your energy. Take an audit of your world. Be honest about what's lifting you and what's limiting you. And then make the call. Clean it up, shift it, release it, upgrade it. Because your future depends on what you tolerate today. You cannot build an empowered life in a disempowering environment. If you want to take control of your life, you have to understand one thing. Your mind is either your greatest ally or your worst enemy. And most people walk through life without ever realizing they've let their own mind become the barrier. Not the world, not their circumstances, not other people, their own mind, the thoughts they repeat, the stories they believe, the emotions they let spiral. They're not being held back by anything outside. They're being held hostage by the way they think. Your mind is a tool, but if you don't train it, it will run wild. It'll focus on fear. It'll magnify doubt. It'll cling to the past and predict failure in the future, and it'll do it so consistently, you'll start to believe that's just who you are. But that's not who you are, it's just a pattern. And every pattern can be changed. If you can train your body, you can train your mind, you can interrupt the loop of negative thinking, you can rewire the way you respond to stress, to setbacks, to uncertainty. But it takes work, it takes repetition. Just like going to the gym, you don't get strong by lifting once. You get strong by showing up every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It's the same with your mindset. It starts with awareness. You got to catch yourself in the act. What are you telling yourself in those moments of pressure, in those moments of fear? Are you empowering yourself or disqualifying yourself before you even begin? Because your brain is always listening. If you keep repeating that you're not good enough, not ready, not capable, it becomes your reality. Not because it's true, but because you keep rehearsing it. But what if instead you trained your mind to find the opportunity in the obstacle? What if you conditioned yourself to stay calm under pressure, to focus under chaos, to move even when fear shows up? That's the power of mental discipline. That's what separates those who collapse under challenge from those who rise through it. You can't control what thoughts show up, but you can absolutely control which ones you engage with. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it belongs there. Just because a fear whispers in your ear doesn't mean you have to believe it. And the more you train your mind to reject what doesn't serve you, the stronger you become. Not just mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. This isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being powerful. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing thoughts that align with your vision, not your limitations. And it's about doing it consistently until your mind stops being a battlefield and becomes your greatest source of strength. Master your mind and the world outside won't have the power to break you. If you really want to take control of your life, there's one shift that changes everything, and it's this. Stop waiting for confidence and start leading with courage. Because confidence doesn't come first. Confidence is the reward. Courage is the starting point. People sit around waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel certain, waiting until the fear goes away, and they end up waiting their whole life. That's not control. That's hesitation dressed up as logic. Fear is always going to be there. You're human, it's built in. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. But the difference between people who lead their life and people who stay stuck isn't the absence of fear, it's what they do with it. The ones who take control are the ones who feel the fear and take the step anyway. They lean into it. They use it as fuel instead of letting it become a wall. Think about this. Every time you've grown in your life, every breakthrough, every turning point, it didn't happen when you felt comfortable. It happened when you did something uncertain, something uncomfortable, something that stretched you. That's courage. It's not about the absence of fear. It's choosing action in spite of it. And the more you do that, the more you train your nervous system to realize, I can handle this. That's how confidence is built, one courageous act at a time. Most people try to wait until they're confident before they act. I'll speak up when I feel more sure. I'll launch the business when I know it'll succeed. I'll have that hard conversation when I feel less anxious. But that moment never comes. Because confidence doesn't magically appear. It comes after the reps, after the action, after the decision. It's the result of you proving to yourself again and again that you're capable, even when it's messy, even when it's imperfect. Stop waiting to feel ready. Ready is a lie. You weren't ready for your hardest days and you survived them. You weren't ready for some of your biggest leaps and you grew through them. Readiness is not the requirement. Willingness is. Willingness to act. Willingness to feel the discomfort, willingness to take the hit if it doesn't work out. That's how you build a life on your terms. And it's not just about big leaps, it's the small acts of courage every single day that move the needle. Waking up early to keep your word to yourself, saying no to things that don't serve your vision, speaking up for what matters, asking for help when your pride says stay quiet, showing up when everything in you says shrink. That's courage. And it's in those little choices, compounded over time, where your power grows. And the moment you start leading with courage instead of waiting for confidence, something amazing happens. You start building momentum. And momentum is magic. When you move, life moves with you. Opportunities show up, people notice, doors open, not because life suddenly changed, but because you changed. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop shrinking to fit. You stop outsourcing your power to the opinions of others or the illusion of perfection. It doesn't mean fear disappears. It just stops being in the driver's seat. You acknowledge it, but you don't obey it. You feel it, but you don't feed it. You start showing your nervous system something new. I can act without needing permission from my fear. And the more you do that, the more control you gain, not just over your outcomes, but over your entire state of being. Courage also teaches you trust. Not trust that everything will go perfectly, but trust in your ability to handle it no matter what. That's real power, not certainty in the outcome, certainty in yourself. And once you tap into that, you become dangerous, not in a reckless way, but in a grounded, unstoppable, unshakable way. You've got to decide that fear won't run your life anymore. You've got to stop letting hesitation be your habit. You've got to stop rehearsing all the ways it could go wrong and start committing to what could. Because on the other side of fear is everything you've been chasing. Freedom, fulfillment, progress, purpose. And you don't get there by thinking about it. You get there by moving, even with the fear present. Every time you choose courage, you're building the muscle of control over your choices, over your mindset, over your outcomes. And the more you exercise that muscle, the more your life bends in the direction of your decisions, not your doubts. Fear may visit, but it doesn't get to stay.